rate. Turbo pumps at flight speed.
We have ignition of the Soyuz.
Maximum thrust.
And liftoff. Liftoff as Chris Cassidy, Pavel Vinogradov, and Alexander Mazurkin are on a fast track to the International Space Station.
Liftoff and everything stable.
Hey everybody, this is Kevin and welcome back to another Estes rocket build video. Today we've got the all-new Estes Soyuz, which is a beautiful depiction. It's in 1/48 scale of the Russian Soyuz rocket that has soared to fame over the decades. This particular model is very large, so it's hard to fit it all on screen, but let me kind of pan the box across the screen for you so you can see it in all of its glory. Absolute gorgeous kit. This claims to go 500 feet on an F15-4 motor, and kind of highlight some of the side of the box here. It's, like I said, this is a huge box, and I'm working on a small bench. I can't really fit all this in one screen, but there you have it. But the easiest thing to do is just go ahead and crack the box open, and we can take a look at what it comes with. Breaking the seal for the first time here. Okay. Lift the lid off, and there we have it. Wow. Very cool. We got some compartmentalized boxes here that I'm not familiar with seeing in Estes kits. There is stuff in them. So, wow, a lot of tubing. What looks like a lot of nose cones are all of these side boosters. Man, this is awesome. Lots of plastic. I've heard that in other reviews, and that ain't no joke. A lot of plastic. In fact, let me go ahead and pull the instruction book out. Let me go ahead and get this book out, lay things out, and we'll do a quick inventory, and then we'll begin the build. Okay, there is a lot to this kit, and I'll tell you, the first thing that jumps out at me personally is if you've ever built a plastic model car or airplane or boat, you're used to seeing sprues like this that have all the little plastic pieces you gotta snip off and glue with plastic cement. Well, there's a lot of this in this kit, so you're combining a lot of different hobbies into this one rocket build, which is pretty cool. First and foremost, we'll just start off with those plastic pieces. We've got a small piece here, GG it looks like. There you have it. And the next one is gonna be, looks like it's probably the nose cone, or the nose tip right here. There you have it. And that's going to be part CC for the most part. There are letters within, so kind of keep that in mind. And I'm looking at the sprues. I don't see individual letters on any of the tabs, so you just have to reference the inventory on the front sheet to know what's what. The third one is going to be this little guy here. It looks like some little directional fins, possibly, that may glue onto the side boosters. Then we've got a fourth piece. Looks like a bunch of rings, maybe nozzles. I'm not quite sure just yet, but that's what they appear to be. Okay, so we got all four of those plastic sprues. We have an engine tube somewhere. There it is, down here. 29mm motor size. We've got 3 wood centering rings. Let me dig them out here. There they are, different sizes. Looks like 2 of them are for the 29mm motor mount, and then this other one, not quite sure what this one's for yet. It's substantially bigger than the other 2. Okay, then we've got some stage pins. We've got this upper stage pin, they call it. Then we've got our aramid or Kevlar cord. We've got our center cores A and B. So here's one half, and here is the other half. So they're calling this the center core. Okay. Then we've got our center core adapter, which looks to be this guy right here. Okay, then we got the body tube. We do have one cardboard body tube in this whole build. Here is the main body tube. Looks like an 18-inch, maybe BT60. Okay, then we've got the, let's see, what do we got here? We got our core center tunnel. I know I saw that laying around here somewhere. There it is. Okay, I'm gonna keep these in the bags for now, but there's well, let's see, there's one here, that's gonna be letter P, and then there's the core lower tunnel, which is M, which is this longer piece here. So we'll get that bag out of the way. We've got the upper truss support, appears to be this guy right here. Then we've got the upper stage. Now, this is just a stunning blow molded plastic work here. The detail is just phenomenal, which is going to take a lot of work out of the build actually, because a lot of those details are built in for you. You don't have to manufacture them yourself. So that's pretty nice. Then we've got our mid stage here, letter K. I'm guessing it's this guy right here. Although here that shows like a hole in the center, and this doesn't have that. So that's interesting. Okay, well, but that is the rest of the piece there. Okay, then moving on, we've got, now this is interesting. It doesn't come with just one set of flight fins. It comes with two. And I guess individual instructions on how to attach. Oh, okay, we're gonna have to glue some tabs, or a tab. Two tabs, I guess. Okay, that is an interesting little add-on piece there. But yeah, it comes with two sets of fins, which is a really nice feature because if you fly it enough, you're gonna snap a fin, and you're gonna wish you had ordered a second fin to go with it. So they give you a second fin in the kit. Okay, moving on. We've got the two engine retainers. These looks like little half-domed pieces here. I see one. There's the other one, kind of hiding over here. Okay, so we've got our two engine retainers. Engine plate, should be four of them. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay, then we've got, I'm gonna skip the truss for a second, our display nozzle piece, which is right here. Then we got 4 boosters, which are all in this bag right here. Again, they look like they're, in and of themselves, they look like nose cones, but those are the side boosters. We have a 3mm bolt and nut right here in this little plastic bag. We've got letter Q, which does not say what it is, but there it is. What else we got? We got the upper launch lug, 2 of those. I'm wondering if those might be in this little box here. Let's open this box up now. Oh, no, here it is. I think, no, that's our engine retainer. Okay, this is going to be a 3D printed truss. This is the truss that we see right here, letter T. Pretty cool. Okay, so I do need to locate these 2 upper launch lugs. I don't see them right off. Doesn't mean I don't have them, I just don't see them. Okay, we'll come back to them. Our shock cord, which is right here. And 2 parachutes, an 18-inch and a 24. Here's the 18 and here's the 24. Again, this is the new Estes ripstop material parachute. These are really nice. Really looking forward to using these. And then we also have our decal sheet. Look at the colors on that. That's going to be one pretty looking rocket once we get it painted up and decaled. I see the different countries. You got Russia, Brazil, America, signifying all the countries that have flown Soyuz. Very cool. So I am not identifying those missing launch lug rings as of yet. I'll have to do some searching off camera. If I don't find them, I'll have to notify Estes and get some replacements, but that's just another step in the process. Okay, I'll keep looking, but I don't see them offhand. All right, I'll go ahead and clear the board, and we'll get started with the build, which I believe is going to be working on our body tube, just getting the reference marks for where we're going to glue the boosters and the motor mount and everything. So, all right, we'll get started once I get the board cleared off and I find my missing launch lugs. Quick update, the launch lugs are found. They are hiding in the bag with the fin. So if you can't find your launch lugs, that's why. You got to find them in the fin bag. There's one right there. The second one is going to be in the other box as well. So everything is present and accounted for. Now we're ready to begin the build. Okay, the first step in building the Soyuz is preparing the main body tube with reference lines and holes that we're going to punch and prepare it for the building of the accessories on top of it. The upper half of the body tube is not going to be used because it's going to be covered up by one of the blow molded plastic fairings that actually enlarge larger than the tube. And so we got to determine which side of the tube we want that to be. Well, upon investigation, I discovered that one of my tubes, or one end of my tube, had a blemish on it. It looks like it's possibly glue from another project that may have dropped on it accidentally. I sanded it down to make it smooth and flush, but this is not pretty, so I want this end to be covered up by that fairing. Additionally, you might notice that the color of the tube has changed a little bit. I took it out and I sprayed 2 coats of Rust-Oleum primer, the cheap stuff, onto it, and immediately wiped it off with the lacquer thinner. I did that in 2 cycles, and what that leaves behind is a primer in the spiral grooves. So that'll help when it comes time to priming and painting. The grooves will be pretty much already filled in for us, and we won't have to worry about too much with that. I don't use wood fillers or anything, I just use primer itself. Upon doing that, that's when I discovered this blemish. I was able to sand it back down, but again, this will be the end that we cover up on the northern end, or the top end of the rocket. So the first thing we need to do now is take this template that comes in the instructions. I personally prefer to photocopy mine, that way I keep the manual intact. And so I make a 100% copy of it, and we're going to go ahead and wrap this around the tube. We want to line up these 2 reference marks with one another. Right there. And right there. And then we want to slide this down till it's flush with the bottom of the body tube. Let's just go ahead and press that down like that. Now, I need to make a mark at these 3 lines right here. There's 1, there's 2, and there's 3. And then I'm also going to take an X-Acto knife, and there's 4 holes that we need to punch. They say to use a pin and then enlarge it with the knife. I'm just going to use the knife initially, just to kind of puncture the hole, just to make basically the mark. There, that's 1. That's 2. That's 3. And that's 4. Okay, so now we can slip this off. We've got our 4 holes, and we've got our 3 reference lines. Now we're going to get our fin marking guide, which is, I love this tool. This is probably one of Este's best tools they ever came up with. We're going to take this, and I'm going to find those marks that I made. And we're basically going to extend that the whole length of the tube. We'll go ahead and hit all 3. Now one of them just so happens to pass right through one of the holes that we punched. So you can actually hear it. It's catching right there. So we know we're in the right place. Okay, so we got our 3 reference lines. The next thing we want to do is I'm going to go get, they say to bore this hole out with the knife. I may elect to do a drill bit. We'll see. I haven't decided how I'm going to get that up to 1/8 of an inch yet. But we've got the initial body marks made and the holes punched, so we know where they're located. So, all right, next step is going to be enlarge the hole, and then we'll get to work on the motor tube. Okay, now we're going to go ahead and build up the motor tube. We need to make a mark on the body tube before we start gluing centering rings on. We want to make a mark from one end, 3 1/8 inch up from one end. So I'll make a mark at 3 1/8. Which is going to be right there. Let me make a couple marks on the other side too, just to give us a little bit of a reference. Depending on what angle we're looking at. Okay, that'll help. Okay, the first ring is going to be the one without the hole. It's going to glue at that mark, and then the second ring with the hole in it is going to glue on flush with the base. Now you'll notice these are pretty loose, pretty sloppy. I'm not sure if the centering rings were cut too large or if maybe the tube itself shrunk a little bit, but we're going to have to rely on the glue to hold it in its position. I mean, you can literally just freewheel spin that. A little too loose for my liking, but that being said, I'm going to now take my wood glue and I'm going to run a bead of glue on the outside, and I'll show you why here in a second. Okay, we're going to run this ring and push the glue to the inside, and that's going to make the fillet easier to do because it's already creating its own fillet. There, just like that. Okay, try to make that as perpendicular as you can. You got it. For now, we just have to kind of eyeball it. Okay, and it needs to tack up a little bit before we can manipulate it too much. So in the time being, it'll hold now as is, but we can go ahead and now do the bottom ring. I say bottom, this is actually, I'm sorry, the top ring. This is going to be facing towards the top of the rocket. Okay, we're going to slip this one on. Now rotate it as we go. And then I'm going to take a piece of wax paper and just press that ring down so it is flush with the tube. Okay, just like that. It came up a little bit. There we go. See, because it's so loose, it's not staying very well. We need to let it tack up a little bit, I think, more. But now that we've got 2 rings on there, we can actually rotate it and get an eyeball perspective and see if they are parallel with one another in the rotation. And I can see now that they are. So we're making good headway. I'm actually going to fold this over because I'm going to use this one more time. Okay, now that that top ring is somewhat setting up, I'm going to go ahead and make my fillet, because it's not going to move on me. There we go. Not sure if I've stressed this on this build before, but always, always, always have a roll of paper towels right next to you on your workbench. Trust me, the time will come when you're desperate for a paper towel and you'll wish you had them right there. Okay, so now that we've got that fillet made up, this is tacked up a little bit more on the bottoms or the top. So let's flip it over. Let's press it down one more time into the wax paper. There we go. Now it's flush, perfectly flush, and we can see that everything is still parallel to each other. Unfortunately, it's the weight. You can't quite do the roll test. Well, you can kind of roll it and just kind of eyeball the parallelness of it. Okay, so that's all set. Now we're going to let this sit and dry. I'm going to put a fillet on the bottom of this ring here once it's set up, and then at the same time we can go ahead and run our cord in and get our Kevlar attached to the motor mount. So we'll be right back when this sets up. Okay, now that the centering rings are dried on the motor mount, it's time to install our Kevlar shock cord. And as you can see, there's the hole. I did leave the glue away from that hole, that way we have plenty of room to insert the Kevlar cord. One thing I did was I did soak the tip of the cord in thin CA, let it dry, and then I was able to cut a nice fine point on it, which allows me to insert it through the hole. Otherwise, yeah, you're just not going to be able to insert that frayed end through. I'm going to wrap it around, and I will do a slip knot. If you don't know how to do a slip knot, it's fairly simple. You just take your cord, you do what would look like a regular knot, but then you tie it back upon itself like that and create a knot there. Okay, now we can pull that, cinch that down tight. Just like so. Now before I do tighten it down, I do want to lay a bead of glue like we're doing a fillet, and then I'll be able to pull the cord into that fillet, and that'll help hold things in place. So let's take our wood glue, run a bead of glue like that, and then we'll just pull this nice and tight. We want the knot lower than the centering ring, that way it doesn't interfere with the body tube as we insert this into the rocket. Okay, so actually, let me just kind of take a popsicle stick. I'm just going to push this up into the glue better. Okay, I'm also going to run another bead of glue on the outside to help encapsulate the cord and to help hold the knot from ever wanting to undo itself. Okay, and we'll just kind of rotate our finger around that. Don't want to get any glue on the outside of the ring, so we'll wipe any excess off. Alright, so that takes care of the motor mount. We're going to let that sit and dry. Now I'm going to work on the the back end stage. Let me get our plastic cement ready for that, and we'll start working on this while we let this dry. Okay, so now we're going to assemble the back end of the engine mount. This is a plastic piece, and this is what's very reminiscent of plastic model building if you've ever built plastic cars, planes, boats, stuff like that. This is very reminiscent of it. So what I have here is some Mr. Cement, plastic cement, and I'm simply going to lay a drop of cement in each of these holes that the pins are going to pop into, and then I will go around the exterior once it's together, and then we'll wrap it with some tape to help hold it in tight while the glue bonds. So again, I'm just going to put a drop in each of the holes. insert the pins. Gonna hold it for a few seconds till it grabs, and once it does, then we'll go over the exterior seam line with the glue as well. Okay. As you can see, it's already holding there. So now I'm just gonna go over this and let the capillary action draw the cement into that seam. This is bonding so well, I may not even need the masking tape after all. Do the same thing with the other side. No gaps. Everything looks good on that end. And I'm not sure if the camera can pick this up or not, but you can actually see on the inside, yeah, there you go, on the inside of the tube, back down in there, you can see where the cement has made its way through that seam and encapsulated the inside of that seam line as well. So this is fully fused together and basically melded and welded as one solid piece. So that's pretty incredible. All right, so we'll let that sit for a bit to cure, and then we're about ready to glue this into the body tube. Okay, now it's time to glue the motor mount into the tube itself. Now, one thing I will recommend you doing is the instructions tell you to run the cord all the way out the tube and try to keep it out of the glue. But the easiest way to do that is just to route the cord back into the tube and out the back end. That alleviates any problem with this getting stuck in the glue whatsoever. I did have to take some sandpaper and gently rotate the centering rings to get these to fit. They were a little bit too tight, but now it's nice and smooth. And I've already routed the plastic engine mount cover over the cord because we're going to use this as our spacer. Once I get this started in the tube with the glue, let me just do a quick dry run here. Once we get things started, we're going to push this, and once the shoulder hits the bottom of the tube, right there, that's the distance we want the motor mount. That's the perfect spacing. So we're going to use this as a spacer and then immediately remove it. Okay, so let me grab a Q-tip. They recommend putting glue at the 2-inch mark and the 1-inch mark for the two rings to go into. I will insert the glue for the 2-inch, and then I will insert the tube, and then just above it, or below it I should say, we'll run another bead of glue for the second ring. Okay, so let me go ahead and grab my Q-tip. Have a paper towel on standby. Always have paper towels, remember. Things get messy real quick in this business. Plenty in there. we'll get this started. And then I'm going to take my bottle and I'm just going to run a bead of glue. There, just like so. Clean up some of my mess there. Okay, we'll get this started. Now, yellow glue will grab quickly, so we got to move quick here. There. And pull it. There we go. Okay, the next thing we'll do is mix up some 5-minute epoxy, and then I'm going to glue this up and into the body tube as well. But we're going to let that sit for a few moments just to kind of set and tack up so we won't get any movement on it. So we'll just let that sit for a bit. Okay, now we're going to go ahead and glue in the plastic portion of the engine mount. Before we do glue it in, I do want to roughen this area up so the epoxy will stick a little better. So we're just going to take some sandpaper and just scuff up the shoulder a little bit. Okay, and then we also want to run it through the cord. Or I should say run the cord through it. Okay, now typically it would be a lot easier to put the glue on the plastic. However, if you do that, when you insert this, it's going to push the glue out. So I'm actually going to apply the glue to the inside of the tube. And before I actually apply it, I should point out to you, choose any one, it doesn't matter which one, but one of the seam lines, there's one here and one here. We want to insert that seam line, we want to attach it to the body tube in reference to this line here. This is the tunnel line, this is the seam line, the third one. It's the one that's a little further away from the other two. We want to line that up with either one of these seam lines. But because we're using epoxy, we'll have some time to rotate and move it around, so that shouldn't be an issue. Okay, before I insert it, I do want to go ahead and clean up some of that epoxy that I got on the outside. Just take some rubbing alcohol and wipe off that epoxy. That might have been at just that spot right there. Okay, now we're going to go ahead and insert this. Again, lining up this line with the reference line. Just going to twist as I go to help spread the glue. And we'll bring that line into alignment with the body tube, and voila, we're done. Okay, now we're just going to let that cure and dry. So I use 30-minute after I mixed it. I realized I grabbed the 30-minute bottle. Doesn't matter. This just gives us more time. I'm going to let all this sit and cure overnight anyway, because we got to let the wood glue dry for the mount, and then the epoxy dry for the plastic portion. So that's it for this segment, and we'll let things cure, and we'll come back and start working on our tabs up here. Okay, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to take our main body tube, and we're going to take these 4 small body details. Now, I'm not sure exactly what they are. The manual doesn't even say it. They just say they are body details. But they're going to fit into these holes that we punctured, and I've since enlarged them to about 1/8 of an inch. and that's going to make room for that little nub. It's going to fit right in. Now you'll notice on these little detail pieces, there's a little indent right here on this side. That's going to be facing forward, so make sure that all 4 of them are facing upward toward the tube. And what I've decided to do to help align these is after I glue them in, you know, they'll be able to rotate. So I'm going to use my tube marking guide to hold the body and to give me a surface that will align these parallel to the body tube. So once I get the glue on there, I'm going to utilize the guide. So that being said, I'm going to take some gel super glue and I'm going to put one little dot at each end and then one on the little nub. Okay, and again, making sure that indent is facing forward. Lay it down in position, and before it hardens, I'm going to take my guide and just butt it up against that detail to make sure we're parallel to the tube. Just like that. Perfect. All right, I'm going to do the other 3 off camera, and we'll come back and work on the center core blow molded piece. Okay, the next thing we're going to do is work on the center core, and what you need to do first is cut off the 2 ends of the tube. Believe it or not, this is actually the bottom. It looks like that would be the nose, but it's not. It's the bottom, and then you've got the upper portion. There's several ways of doing this. They recommend using a knife. You can use a single-edged razor. You can even use a razor saw. I've elected to go with a knife, and the reason I can do this is because there is a groove cut out that your knife blade can follow. So right along the seam line here, I've already done it, but I established my first cut. I got the blade in the groove, and then now I can just use that groove to rotate the blade through. Just keep an eye on that groove as the blade comes around, and you rotate the knife. It's kind of like just cranking a handle, and you just keep pulling it in the direction of that groove. Take your time, there's no rush. We're almost to the halfway point. Okay, at this point, I'm actually going to transfer over to my single edge razor because I believe it has more leverage on the once it gets into that groove. Kind of rotate the blade underneath you, just like the regular X-Acto. The nice thing is it just naturally follows the groove. It's already starting to split. I'm actually just rolling now I'm rolling the tube into the blade. And it's tracking right through the groove, and there we are. Nice, nicely done, nice clean cut. You do want to take some sandpaper and just kind of, actually I prefer just kind of twisting initially, and then just kind of work that out, and you have a perfectly smooth contoured finish. Alright, so there you go, there's the disposed piece. And we can do the same thing on the back end. The back end, let me start with the knife. I'm sorry, see, it's the front end. I got that wrong already. We're gonna go with this bottom line here. I'm just gonna kind of gently kind of saw my way in until I can get the blade in. Blades in, and I'm just going to utilize the same technique. I'll get it started with the X-Acto, and then I'll go to the single edge and finish it off. So get this off, and we'll move on to the next step. Okay, we are all set for the next step. I've done quite a bit off camera, but I'm gonna update you on what I did because it was so time consuming. I didn't want to film all of it. But we had to sand the inside diameter of the lower end of the inner core, the center core, to get over the main body tube. You can see here now, it does fit over it quite easily. But initially, we were way off. I had to sand maybe 1/8 of an inch down, quite a bit of the inside. It took a lot of sanding, but it was well worth it because I took my time. It didn't do it too aggressively. Things came out nice and level and you know, flush and everything, so it's good. The other thing I did was, once we do glue this on, we're gonna want to align one of the seam lines with a center seam line down one of these details. So just for assistance, I put a piece of tape on either end. That gives me a quick direction as to which orientation I want, and then I can line up the pencil marks with more precision. Okay, other thing I did. The centering ring that goes inside the upper portion of the center core, it's a really tight fit, and you're supposed to glue it onto the body tube first. And my fear was, if I glue it onto the body tube first, because this is such a tight fit, I didn't want to break it off once I get this up and on. So I've elected to glue this actually into the inner core first. And there are 2 flat spots, and they're actually marked with these little indentation lines. You want to line those up on the thicker section of the plastic where the seam line actually is, and that's why it's sanded flat. So we're going to glue it in just like that. So I'm going to glue this in first with epoxy, and then I think that'll be easier for us to get this glued on, and then eventually that center tube. So that being said, let me go ahead and mix up some 5-minute epoxy. We're not going to use too much. Okay. I'll show you what we need to do first, actually, is to get this onto the tube. And I've also put the shock cord up the tube just to kind of get it up and out of the way. Okay, so we're gonna slide this on. Actually, you know what? That's as if you were following the directions. We can actually hold off on that because I'm going to glue this part in first. So let me just mix this up. I also did sand the inside of that a little bit to roughen it up so it'll accept the epoxy a little better. Okay, and I want to use a Q-tip to apply this. I think I'll have a little bit better luck. Okay. The instructions also call for setting this in about a 32nd of an inch from the bottom of the plastic tube. Whatever leftover I've got, I can use it for a fillet on the backside. Okay, so let's go ahead and fit that in. You can see I'm lining up this little hash line with the seam. Okay, and we're gonna get it down to about a 32nd of an inch. Just right about there. It feels pretty even all the way around. Sure you can see that. Okay, now I'm going to use the remaining epoxy and just kind of lay it on the back side as a fillet. I'm actually going to bend the Q-tip in half, that way I can kind of tuck it in better around that joint. There we go. Okay, so again, this is 5-minute epoxy, so I'm going to let that go ahead and cure, and then we'll come back and we'll get this epoxied onto the body tube. Okay, I've got a fresh batch of epoxy just mixed up. I went ahead and slid the inner core or center core over the body tube. You can see we're just shy of the centering ring, which is now hardened in the epoxy. So we want to, I'm actually going to take it beyond it, apply the epoxy, and then pull it back down flush with the centering ring. And then I've got some paper towels and rubbing alcohol to clean it up. So first thing we got to do is get that centering ring through, get the body tube through the centering ring. There we go. Now we want this flush with the ring. And remember, we want to keep these aligned down here too. So we got to keep that in mind when we're getting this set up. Okay, so let me go ahead and grab my paper towels so they're ready to go, because it's going to get messy. You'll see why. Okay, so now we're going to take our epoxy. You know, I didn't do this, I should. Let me just roughen this up a little bit. That'll help the epoxy adhere. Okay, so we'll take our epoxy and we'll just spread it around. I'm going to leave it kind of thick because the fitting was pretty loose, so hopefully the thick epoxy will help fill in that gap that we have. Okay, so I'm going to keep two things in sight. I'm going to keep this so it's flush with the centering ring, and then also trying to keep these two hash marks aligned. So we've got the body tube flush with the centering ring, and we've got our two hash marks perfectly aligned right there. So before things are hardening on us, let's go ahead and clean up that overflow of epoxy. Get some isopropyl alcohol here. Just wipe that down. We definitely want to keep glue from out of the inside of the body tube, because that'll interfere with our excuse me, our coupler that'll go in there. Okay, so that is now in. Again, it's 5-minute epoxy. It won't take long to dry, but we're going to let it cure for a good length of time. Double check our alignment is dead on, so that looks good. All right, so we're just going to let that sit and dry, and we'll be right back and work on the details. Okay, now that all the epoxy is dry and everything is good to go up here, let me see if I can show you the upper part here. Everything hardened nicely, everything's straight. Really couldn't be more pleased with that. But you might notice there are 3 of these little details glued on. I want to show you the 4th one, how we did it. Very simple process, but I'm going to show you that. And we're also going to run this racetrack down the length of the body tube right there, between the lines that we had marked earlier. And I also need to run a bead of thin CA glue right around this joint here. Okay, so let's first do our cement work. I've got some Tamiya extra thin cement, and the way I do these is I put a little cement in this little hole, and then that's going to fit right on top of this little nub that's sticking up right here. Sort of falls right into place. Get it straight in alignment. And then I'm going to kind of press it down while I go around the perimeter with the brush and cement. Doesn't get much simpler than that. So that takes care of that step. Okay. Set the cement aside, we don't need it for the time being. And then next I'm going to get to this little racetrack here. Now I want to point out something that Estes did that they probably didn't have to do, but it's a really nice effect. If you look at the bottom side of this racetrack, it has a curvature to it. You might be able to see that little concave indent running down the length, and that is a perfect contour to the roundness of the body tube. I mean, that's next level right there. And I'm not being sarcastic. That is a really, really nice feature. So, with that being said, there's a little bit of a, let's see if I grab the sanding stick here. A little bit of a rough spot right there. I want to remove that. Check around the perimeter, everything else looks good. Just that one little spot needs a little polish. Okay, so let's find our lines, reference lines right there. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to use thick gel type CA. I'm going to run a thin bead down the center of that, and then where the plastic overlaps down here at the bottom, I'm just going to wick some cement into there. That would be a much stronger bond. And maybe a little bit up here at the top where the two plastics meet. But let's go ahead and get the thick bead laid down first. Like I said, just a thin bead right up the middle. If you put too much, it's gonna all squeegee out on you and just make a mess of things. Go. Okay, you want to make sure your first position is spot on because it's going to be hard to move after that. Okay, I'm just going to drop it down into position. There. Beautiful. Let's take a little bit of masking tape just for well-being. And then I also, like I mentioned, I want to put some cement down where the plastic meets the plastic. So, grab my brush. Okay. I'll just draw this around the perimeter. There we go. And we'll put a little bit at the top as well. Okay, so we're just going to let all that sit and dry and harden, and then we will come back and work on some more raceways and this adapter shoulder for the upper stage portion. Okay, as soon as I stopped recording, I remembered that I had forgotten to glue our the perimeter of this joint right here with some thin CA. Now this is a matter of very little will go a long way, and I'm just going to let gravity kind of do its thing. So I'm just going to drop a thin CA in this corner and let it run around, and I'll rotate the tube and add as necessary, but I don't want a big buildup. I don't want runs down the plastic. I simply just want to let it capillarily feed down into that joint on its own. So let me just lay down the thin. Let me clean this up a little bit. And you can see the glossiness of the glue in the joint, so you can tell how far it's run. Okay. Now we're just gonna let this sit and dry. But that came out nicely, no runs, no fuss, no problem. Okay, I want to point out a couple things. One, everything here is complete. Everything's hardened. I took the tape off. It's seated perfectly. There are no gaps. That curvature they put into this raceway is dead on. Like I said, everything looks good. So the next step is actually going to be a little bit of a modification, and I'll explain why. First off, the adapter piece that slides into the body tube was extremely tight, and I had to sand off those ridges just to get it to fit in the tube, and even then, right at the last bit here, it's still a little on the tight side. So it's going to require some more sanding up near this end. I'm not sure why the sizing was like that, but it is. It easily pushes in to about there, and it kind of stops, and you gotta really force it in the rest of the way. That's not good, because you want this to be able to eject easily under the ejection charge. So I'll continue working on sanding that down to get a little bit better. Okay, that being said, we need to glue this little tab here, and you want to glue it in such a way that the sloped end is facing forward or toward the top of the rocket. So I'm going to get my cement out. Okay, and we'll set this. It doesn't matter which one you put it on. Just make sure you have it aligned straight and facing the right direction. So we'll just put a bead of cement right on that ridge. Take our little fitting, drop it right on. Press it down. Okay, while we're doing that, we'll go ahead and run a bead around the perimeter as well. Okay, perfect. Okay, now here is the other issue that I encountered during my dry fitting. And it is this upper raceway. Now, if you recall, I mentioned earlier that sanding this plastic inner core, center core tube to allow the BT60 body tube to fit into it required a ton of sanding. I was probably on it for 30 to 40 minutes just sanding away to get that to fit. And in the process, I knocked down about 1/8 of an inch on this white plastic. Now, therein lies the problem. When you take this raceway, let me show you what they want you to do is insert this in position, center that down toward the raceway. When you set this upper raceway in and you line this up at the top, because if you notice, there's these, I don't know if it's showing up on camera, but there's these little grooves that go around the tube, and also on the bottom of the raceway, if I can get the lighting, there you go, you see 1, 2, 3, 4, there's all these little notches built into this that go right over those grooves. So when you line up at the top, everything falls right into place, all the grooves fit. But then look down here, we're a good 1/8 of an inch, 3/16 of an inch too long. So initially I thought, well, I'll just glue this up against that and I can cut this off to fit. But then I realized we got to get that bend just right, because there is a little dog leg in the raceway. And we also want to make sure that these grooves match up right over these seam lines running around the tube. So the best bet would be to cut our length off on this leg right here. So I'm gonna hold off on doing this. I'm gonna have to measure it and then cut this. So off camera, I'll probably take this out, and I could probably use a little saw of some sort I've got out in the garage, but I'm gonna have to cut this down. I want a nice clean cut. More than likely we're gonna fill it in with Bondo or some sort of putty anyway to make it fuse as if it were one piece, but still I want a clean cut as possible because that'll make gluing a lot easier and filling easier too. So let me get that cut off camera. We'll come back and we'll finish this up. Okay, I cut a good 3/16 of an inch off of the end of this little raceway right here, but now got a good tight fit. You can, let me see if it'll zoom in. Yeah, see right here, let me take this little groove right here fits right into the notch that's in the plastic. Same way up here, you notice each little ring has a notch that it slips into, and then right here it starts to do this dog leg, a little bend in it, and then it continues up and all the way up to this back end right here. Of course, we're not going to glue this because this needs to be removable, but I've got everything in alignment. Let's see if you can see down there. I can't quite get it all the way in, but everything's in perfect alignment as it is. Once I got everything lined up, I taped it down in 2 spots. I'm going to get the cement started here, and then in the middle, and then in the back, and then I'll remove the tape and we'll finish up the gaps. So let me go ahead and get the cement started. That wick into the gap there. Put some down along this edge here. And that edge. Press it down temporarily. Get this end here. I want to be careful not glue this raceway to the cap. Okay, I'm gonna let that sit for a few minutes and then come back, remove the tape, and I'm gonna fill in the gap with more cement. But that's pretty much it. Now we're back on track. We've corrected the error in having to sand that down so much. I hated to do that, but it's what they called for. But it didn't affect the overall length of the tube because we're still flush at the top of the body tube. So the only distance we lost was right here, and that would have pushed this bottom raceway down an extra 3/16 of an inch as well. But that's not as bad, because this is going to be concealed by the boosters anyway for the most part. But getting this to fit in alignment was priority number 1. So we got that accomplished. Now we can move on to the next step. Okay, the next step's pretty straightforward. We're going to take our display nozzle base plate here. We're going to take our 4 nozzles, which I snipped off the sprue. I cleaned them up with the knife and sanding sticks. And we're just going to simply lay them in position and take our cement and just, wow, it's already dry. It's amazing how quickly this works and how good it is. All right, there's number 1, number 2, three, and 4. there you go. Amazingly easy and fast. Okay, the next step is something I've already begun, but I just take a small pin vise with a 3/64 inch drill bit, and I just drill out all of the holes in this center stage piece. The instructions do say to drill all the way through. I did most of them before I started filming, and yeah, now we're all done. Okay, I'm just gonna take a toothbrush and kind of clean off all those flakes. Nice. Okay. And we'll now go to the other end of the stage and do the same thing on this piece. Notably, this piece here is a lot thicker, so you're gonna have to drill a lot more through. And I won't spend all your time watching me drill the rest of these 20 million holes, so I will do the rest off camera, but you get the idea. And then we're gonna come back and do some dry fitting on the whole structure. Okay, we're gonna work on one of the sub-assemblies now, and we're not gonna follow directions to the T because, and even in their own instructions recommendations, they prefer you paint as much as you possibly can before gluing sub-assemblies together. And that's where we're at with this interstage section here. I do want to introduce you to this piece. This is, from what I've heard, the very first 3D printed piece that Este has ever used in any of their manufacturing kits. So hats off to them. They're coming to the light, so to speak. Very cool little piece. But this is the section that's going to engage those little holes that we just drilled out. And they're gonna fit together like that. And then, let's see if I can just do a mock-up for you here. Like that. Okay, it's just like that. Now, that alone is not strong enough to hold together, especially for the rigors of our flights. So they designed this plan where you can take I don't know what millimeter size that is, but maybe an M2, M3, possibly Phillips screwdriver or screw head with threads and a bolt and a nut that thread on. Now, I'll say something interesting about this nut. I was just about to head out to my toolbox to get a socket set or a crescent wrench, and I stumbled across my little 4-way cross wrench that is from my old Tamiya car kits. If any of you have raced Tamiya cars back in the 80s or 90s, you probably have a collection of these sitting around somewhere. Well, this particular end right here is the perfect size for that nut. So if you happen to have an old Tamiya 4-way cross wrench, you've got the perfect tool for the nut on that bolt. But anyway, that'll be obviously for later, but that's one way to attach it. I do want to go ahead and glue this portion in here first. Now, we're not going to glue the upper portion with the motors until this is painted. This is going to be a bright orange, whereas all this is going to be the greenish gray color of the rocket. We'll get into the colors later. I have come up with a color plan. I'll share with you that before we do the actual painting, but for now we do want to go ahead and glue this portion onto this end cap. And to do that, I'm just going to take my Tamiya cement. They recommend epoxy in the instructions. However, because we're going to be using the bolt to hold this all together, I don't really see the great importance of the epoxy over the cement. Okay, so I've already got it fitted into place. So just from this position here, I'm going to put a little dab of cement on each joint and let that wick in. Okay, so we're just gonna let that sit and cure, and all is well there. I'm gonna go ahead and invert it, and that way we can put pressure on it. The weight will help keep everything flat. So once we do get that cured, I will take these out to the booth and prime them. So next time you see these pieces, they will be primed. I'm also gonna be priming this bottom portion here. This will eventually be glued onto that piece, but we don't want to glue it on until we've inserted the bolt and the nut for obvious reasons. So, but I am going to go ahead and prime this as well, and this all in preparation for painting. So we'll come back after everything's been primed and painted. Okay, now we're going to work on the escape tower. Now, one other deflection that I'm going to make away from the instructions are these little rockets here that mount to the tower are a different color, so I'm not going to glue them on yet until after we paint everything. Once we get them painted, then we can glue them on, and it's just going to make masking a whole lot simpler. But for the time being, we can go ahead and glue up the tower. You'll notice one side has the pins, and the other side has the receptacles that the pins will fit into. So let me take my cement. And I'm just going to put a little dot of cement in each of the holes initially. Okay. Then we'll take our other half and fit them into place, just like that. And now we can go ahead and run a bead of cement all around the edge of the seam line. Okay, and just to help hold that while we do the rest, I'll go ahead and set that in a clothespin, and then we can move our way down the tower. Okay, now on this end we have the opportunity to also run the cement on the inside of the seam, since we have access to the opening. Just like that. And the better alignment you get now, the less sanding you'll have to do later. So make sure everything lines right up. Okay. Hold that for a few seconds. We'll set that aside for the time being. I'm going to set these 4 little rockets to the side since we're not going to be using them. We can also take the upper portion of our escape tower, and same process here. We'll dip the brush and we'll put 1 dab in each of the holes. Fit the 2 halves together, just like that. Press, and we'll also grab another clothespin for this piece. Okay, so we're left with 2 pieces left. We've got the base that's going to attach to the upper portion of the nose cone, and we've also got this little adapter that's going to connect between the upper and the lower halves of our tower. It's been 30 seconds now. We can go ahead and release these pins now. One thing to note this is going to be super hard to show you. Let me get an extra light here. See if this works. Up at this portion here, there is a little tab right here. I'm not sure how well it is, but if we're looking at it in person, you can't help but miss it. A little notch. And then if you look at this little ring here, there's a little cutout for that notch as well. So that's where we want to fit that onto our ring. Now we can do a little dry fit here just to make sure everything fits. Okay, I'm gonna have to open that notch just a little bit. Actually, the whole circle. It's a little too tight. Just a little bit more. And then also one thing to keep in mind is when you apply the cement's going to soften the plastic so it's a little more malleable and we can finesse it into position. So let me do one more test fit here. There, that's going to go. Okay, so let me go ahead and saturate this with cement. This will soften up the plastic. And we can take our little ring here. And work that into place. Okay. Let me add a little bit more to the joint to help soften it some more. Okay, so we're going to let that dry, and then once it, after a minute or so, we can come back and glue the upper portion on. So we'll be right back. Okay, now that that's had some time to set up, I'm also going to go ahead and glue the base on first before we attempt to glue this tip on, because the tip, we've got to ensure that it's perfectly straight in line with the tower. And I think it'll be easier to balance if we've already got this portion on here. So let's go ahead and glue this on. You'll notice it has a notch on the base and a notch right there. I don't know if it's coming up on camera or not, but we want to make sure that that fits right in. So let me go ahead and put some cement all around. Okay. And like I said, we're going to make sure those notches line up with one another. Right like that. Okay, and while that's drying, because it's perpendicular and straight, we can go ahead and now glue our tip on to the top. There we go. Now this one, just rotate it several times, make sure we're straight, because this is our one and only time to get it perfectly aligned. That looks good to me. So we're just going to let this whole assembly sit and dry, and then we can prime it as well. So I'll take this out to the booth once it's dry. Okay, the next step is we're going to take our upper body tube / nose cone piece, and we're going to take this template that we need to cut out, or in my case, I like to photocopy it and then cut it out. And it's going to give us our reference lines to where we're going to glue these two raceways. So in preparation, we need to figure out which of these three, I think there's probably 7 of them, that these 3 are going to fit over to give us our reference. So what you do is take your nose cone, and you'll notice there's 2 little mini strakes right here with 2 details above them, And on the opposite side, there's 2 without 2 details. That's the side we want to work with. So once you find this side of the tube, go straight down, and these 3 notches here, 1, 2, I'm sorry, left 1, 2, and 3, those are the 3 we're going to work with. So right below these 2 is going to be your furthest right notch, if that makes sense. So we're going to take our template, again, we're going to find these 2, come straight down, that's our furthest right. So we're going to lay that over the detail, and then we're going to wrap the template over the other 2. They should fit perfectly, and once you got them into place, I'm going to go ahead and take 2 pieces of masking tape and tape this down to our tube. Just like that. And you can just kind of eyeball it, make sure it's straight down, the lines are parallel with the body tube, which they are. Everything looks good. Okay, so now I'm just going to take a pencil and we're going to make marks on these lines on the top, middle, and bottom of each reference. And we'll throw a couple down here too. Okay, do the same on for this one. And when doing these marks, always use pencil, because sometimes the ink in a pen will chemically not react very well to the paints that we paint our rockets with, and you can get an adverse reaction to the paint. It could really mess up your paint job. So just stick with the graphite pencils. Safe bet. Okay, so we've got all the lines marked. We can go ahead and remove our template, and we can easily see, I don't know if it's coming up on camera, but it's easy to see the marks. Then I'm going to take my plastic cement, grab my brush, set that out of the way. Okay, now these go down with the fat portion facing the bottom or the lower end. Okay, so, and also there's little grooves in the bottom of the plastic, and those fit into all these rings that are wrapped around the tube, so you can't really mess that up as far as up and down goes. Okay, so I'm gonna hold it in position, get everything lined up within our marks. The key is I'm going to get at least one side started. I'll do the bottom end here just to give us something to hold on to. Okay, and again I'm going to eyeball it just a little bit better before I start making it too secure. There we go. And just run the cement down the length of the raceway. And it'll wick right into position, right inside there, and secure it. Eyeball it again. Looks good. And now we'll do the upper portion. Okay, that's one. And we'll do the other one the same way. periodically check. That looks good. Okay. And now we can follow it up with the front end. There we go. All right, just double check the other side that we did first. It looks good. And that one. Okay. Everything looks good. We're gonna let this cure for a little bit and then we'll move on to the next step. Okay, now we're gonna glue our launch escape tower onto the top of the nose cone. And you'll notice in particular, if you look at the ring here on top, there's one indent. There's just one on the entire circumference of it, a little indent notch sticking up. And if you look on the inside of the base of your launch escape tower, there's an indent there for the notch to fit into. So that it's really the only way it can fit. You'll hear it kind of click when it locks into place. That's where we want it. So it's pretty straightforward. I'm just going to coat this with some cement and then we're gonna lay it in position and it should dry rather quickly. Go ahead and get my brush. And I'm just going to, let's see, I'm gonna have the notch facing upward. I'll just thoroughly saturate this. And then lay this in position. There, right there. Okay, just press it into place, and then I'll go around the perimeter as well. Okay, so now we got the LES attached to the upper portion of the nose cone, looking real good. Okay, one other thing I want to point out, the instructions now call for going ahead and drilling out these 4 holes that we are to install our grid fins into. You can see them, they're still on the sprue here. And because these need to be painted a little bit different color, it's going to be nearly impossible to mask and paint these if they're already attached. So I'm going to hold off on attaching these until after this has been painted and these have been painted separately in a different offshoot of white, probably just like an egg color white or some off white, whereas this will be a gloss white. So I'm going to skip that. Also, they recommend drilling a 1/16 inch hole in that little indent, which that would seem to be about right, but the posts on the back of these grid fins are at least 1/8 inch, if not maybe 5/16. So I'm not quite sure why the hole size is so different, but anyway, I'll drill these out with 1/16 to begin with and probably have to go up to 5/16 to be able to fit those little posts into the hole. But anyway, that's for another time. We're gonna hold off on that until everything's painted. So in the time being, set that aside and we can get our boosters out now and cut off the upper and lower part of the tube. Now these plastic tips are pretty thin. I've already done the other ones off camera. I'm saving this one to film. But I just take my single edge razor and just kind of fit it into the groove. You'll feel the groove once it falls in. Just start rotating it. And the blade literally just goes right through. Assuming you've got a fresh, sharp blade. So that was pretty easy. And on the back side, similar to the way we did the other body parts, I'm actually going to start, and I'll show you why. I'm going to start my hole right at the end of the flat portion right here. And again, this is pretty thick. Your X-Acto will go through pretty easy into the groove. And I do want to caution you, and I should have said this earlier, this is not the safest technique because technically you could be pushing away from yourself. I just find it hard to manipulate the blade when I'm going away. I feel personally more comfortable pulling it in, but therein lies the danger of the blade coming at you. So please be very cautious if you do this, that you have nothing crossing, no fingers or thumbs crossing the groove line that you're going to be cutting through in case the blade does slip. So just be very conscious of that and aware. But this plastic on these boosters is a little bit thinner than the other parts of the blow molded parts, and you'll feel the blade work a lot easier actually. Okay, pull it out, start again, and just rotate the booster under the blade and just let it follow that natural groove. And I'm only going to cut up to the flat spot, and then I'll show you. We can literally just bend the tube and it'll naturally snap at that location. So we'll get to that point, and then now we can just open that flap up and it comes right off. And then just take some flat sandpaper and just kind of rotate it and just smooth it out a little bit, but it doesn't take much. And you've got a perfectly cut tube right there. So that wraps up these. I've got these all 4 done and ready, and then we'll come back and go to the next step. Okay, now we're going to go ahead and assemble the boosters. I've actually assembled 3 of them already. Here's what they look like when they are complete. And but we're going to walk through this 4th one step by step, and it's kind of interesting the way this 4th one turned out to be. When I cut the tips off all 4 boosters, I didn't realize it at the time, but this particular one, when I cut through it, it was still plugged. In fact, the plug was a good 1/4 inch up the nozzle there, and I was like, so I had to get a drill and drill out the plastic. I guess when they blow molded this particular one, just a bunch of plastic ended up at that tip and it just was sealed. So I drilled it and then it kind of split. I'm not even sure if it's, yeah, you kind of see the split right there. So in order to close the split, I just had to glue this gray tip in. So otherwise I would have shown you how I glued that in, but that's pretty straightforward, got that fixed. But we can work on the bottom end where the engines go. The first thing I need to do is actually glue on our base plate, which is a bulkhead firewall assembly. And a couple things I'm going to do to this. One, I'm going to glue it with plastic cement on the inside, and then I'm going to go around the perimeter after it's set with the liquid cement. So combination of 2 different glues. So I'm just going to run a bead. Okay. Okay, obviously you want to match this up to the flat spot right there. Position that in place. And then, like I said, now we're going to go around it with our cement. Get this going. Okay, make sure that's in position, nice and flat. Okay, this liquid cement dries a lot quicker than the adhesive there, so this is actually going to hold it while the thicker stuff sets up and does its job. Okay, next thing we want to do is we take these little indents here and we need to glue them onto these little tabs on the back of the bulkhead. So we'll just fit them over that little groove there. Take our brush, a little cement all around it. And when you do this, be very careful you don't get the cement into where your finger is, because it will melt the plastic under your finger, and then you'll end up leaving fingerprints. Don't ask me how I know that, but you'll end up with permanent fingerprints embedded in the plastic. And then that's just one more thing you have to sand off. So just be very cautious that you don't put too much glue on there, and then it spread to where your finger's at. There, I'll get my thumb out of the way. And wrap that around, perfect. Okay, the next thing we can do is go ahead and take our 4 engine nozzles. And these are keyed. There's a little notch, I'm sure if you can see that, on the base of each one, and there's a little notch in the nozzle. So you just want to kind of fit that on and rotate it till it locks into place. Take some cement, and I'm just going to paint the glue on into the joint, and we'll do that on all 4. Heard that one click. And I did this off camera, but when I cut all these out of their plastic sprues, I did sand the little notches off and clean those up with the sanding sticks, because it'd be impossible to do it now after it's been glued onto the rocket. That hardens pretty quickly. There are a couple motors that are to be glued onto the aft end here. I'm going to hold off on gluing those in until just before we paint, because they stick out further than these engine nozzles and they're really thin and flimsy, and I don't want to risk breaking them in the process of painting everything else. Okay, the other thing we need to do is glue on our single fin, and this requires drilling this hole out with a 1/16 inch drill bit, which I've already got chucked into my pin drill. So let me just drill that out. Okay, and one lesson I did learn on the other ones when I did the other 3 boosters, it still requires just a little bit of trimming with the knife. I had to do that on the other ones as well. But then it should just fit right in. See, it's still needing some more too. There we go. Okay, so now we can take our cement. Now I'm going to put some in that hole and just kind of paint the base of it. That'll soften it up and give us some initial purchase, allowing us to work it into position. You want to sight from behind and make sure we're perfectly vertical. Okay, and then we'll just run a bead of cement around the perimeter. Okay, so that takes care of booster number 4. I will take these out, prime them, and paint them before you see them again. One note, there's a hole here that you need to drill out with a 3/64 inch drill bit. That's going to get pinned into the base. Let me show you that real quick. On the center core, there are these holes right here that a little plastic pin's going to go in, and it's going to go into here and then also into each booster, one on each side to make up all 4. Again, I'm going to hold off on gluing this until it's all painted, but I'm also going to mask off the area where the plastic is going to meet the plastic on the booster. For example, these spots here, up here, and then I'll have to do the same thing on the booster. That way, when it comes time to glue it, we've got direct plastic to plastic contact, and we don't have to work through the paint. So, like I said, I'm going to take this out now, prime it, paint it, and we'll come back and you'll see the rocket when it's all painted. Okay, here's a quick update on things. I'm actually going to assemble the interstage section of the rocket, and this is a good opportunity to show some of the painting that I've gotten accomplished. This lower section of the upper tube, if that makes sense, is painted in orange. I've got silver bulkhead, firewall, and engine nozzles with red paint on the inside. I think it came out pretty good. I like the colors. And also, the truss assembly and the lower portion that will slide into the body tube has been painted the green that I'm going with. And I know there's a lot of discussion as to gray, green, what color is the rocket? And a lot of guys are going more gray, and that's fine. I decided I wanted to go a little bit more on the green side. So I went with the Rust-Oleum. It's satin, it's Hunt Club Green. This is the one I'm going with. And I think so far, I'm pretty pleased with the color. Again, there's no right or wrong, just, you know, whatever. I mean, if you want to do hot pink, whatever floats your boat. But anyway, that's what I'm using. So we'll set the can aside. I just wanted to show you in case you're curious. But let's go ahead and assemble this. I'm going to both glue and use the bolt. The glue, I'm actually going to wait on the glue until after I get it all assembled. And then I'm going to actually run some liquid cement in the holes from the backside. That way we don't end up with any clumps of glue exposed. I think that'll be a cleaner way to conceal the glue joint. So let's go ahead and we can run it. Everything's already, it actually fell right into position, so I think we're just going to go with it as it is. Get the bolt in. We'll get the nut on what would be considered the lower side. And as you remember, I'm going to use my Tamiya 4-way cross wrench. Okay, pinch that. Let's see if I can do this. And obviously, I don't want to over tighten it. Just till it has a light compression on it. It is a nylon lock bolt or lock nut, I'm sorry, so it's not going to require any thread lock or anything like that. See, once I start to feel it tighten, I'm gonna right there. Let me see how we're looking. Yeah, we're down. Let me go just a skosh more, but yeah, that's it. I don't want to over compress it and then risk snapping the truss assembly. So let me go ahead and get my cement out. And like I said, I'm just going to run some cement in the holes from this side. What you're seeing here, that white, that's remnants of the popsicle stick that I glued to the inside as a holder for when I was painting it. That's all that is. And that's the last one. Okay, let's kind of inspect it from this side. Yeah, didn't get any bleed through, so good. That's, I think, a good way to do the gluing. So, all right, so that is complete. Now it's ready to glue on. I'm still out painting the rest of the rocket, and it will come in when all that is complete, and we will complete the assembly. Okay, as soon as I stopped recording, I realized I forgot to glue the base on. So, let's go ahead and do that now as well. Now for this one, I'm going to use the Testor's plastic cement, and I'm going to route cement on the inside. I'm going to start at the notch. This is pretty thick plastic, so it can tolerate more cement than normal, but I still no need to exacerbate it with a ton of glue. But I don't have to be quite as ginger with it. Okay. Let me just get a popsicle. Let me spread it to make sure we get up to the edge. Find our notch. There's our notch, and on this end there's our notch, so let me line them up. That just presses right into place. Oh, there, now this part's done. I can't believe I didn't do that in the last segment, but now we're all cut up. Okay, as you can see, a lot of painting has been done and is complete on the upper nose cone area. First off, the entire upper portion was painted in gloss white. Then I painted the green section in Hunter Club Green, which is a Rust-Oleum product. And then this lower portion here, I painted with Bare Citrus Orange. And I also painted the top of the Interstage in the same paint. So now we're just going to attach these two with some plastic cement. So I will point out one thing. On the base of the nose cone, there's a little key right there. And you'll notice on the inside, there's a key notch. So we need to make sure that slides over that notch and it'll be a nice secure fit. And you want to apply your cement on the inside. That way any excess is pushed forward, away from the exit. If we were to put the glue on here, as we push it in, it would push out onto our paint. Definitely don't want to do that. So we're just going to take our plastic cement. Not sure if the light's catching it or not, but we're going to run a bead of plastic cement around. Definitely want to fill that groove for the key slot. I will take a popsicle stick and I'm just going to help spread the glue. That way we ensure that it gets up toward the base to ensure full coverage. Okay. Find our slot. There it is. So I'm going to place it right over top of that portion there. And we're going to slide it up and into place. Beautiful snug joint. Okay, well, as you can see, I've already started doing some decal work, and I also glued the grid fins up on the top. That was just a simple task of applying a little, I used gel CA glue, just a little dab on the 3 pins, and it just fit right into place. So that was pretty straightforward. I've already started doing the decals. I did one complete side here, and I figured, well, let me go ahead and show the other side. Now, what's interesting about this next decal, it's I have no idea what it says. If it says anything, it's the long lettered one. It's offset. It's not centered between the fins, but it is as close as you can get to this one, more or less centered under the American flag. So it's a little different, not what you'd expect, but I've been soaking it in water for a few seconds, and now we're just going to peel the backing off as we lay it down. And it's pretty low. I need to bring it up closer to the American flag. Okay, let's check the other side. Yep, that looks about right. Okay, just gonna dab it with some paper towel to absorb most of the water. Okay, then we'll take a Q-tip and gently drag and roll. I'm also rolling, so we're not really dragging it so much as just pressing the moisture out from underneath. Okay, let's verify it matches. Yep, looks about the same. See how it's off-center between the panels? That is the way it's supposed to be. Again, it's counterintuitive to the way we, maybe as Americans, think of it, but that's the way they do it over there on the Soyuz. So, okay, now the next two decals we've got are this little guy and this one that will go directly underneath this panel. So let me go ahead and get both of them soaking in my water here. I'll show you what I've got. I've got a little basin here. And they're gonna go right underneath that grid fin, just like it is on this side. Okay, while that's soaking up, you can see the rest of the rocket. Everything's looking really good. Okay, let's start it with the top one. Drain most of the water off. Okay. It's going to fit right under the panel. Oh, it hasn't quite broken loose yet. Okay. There it goes. Okay, now we can position it. Let's see where it's in relation to the T on the other side. Okay, it's just below the top of the T. Pretty much right where, almost where it's at right there. Okay, we're gonna center it and get some of this water out. Okay. Okay, that looks good. Okay, now I'll go to the other one. And it goes right underneath it. Okay, let's see where the other one lines up. Pretty much flush with the bottom of the A in the TMA. So that's the way we'll do this one. And it's pretty much already there. In fact, it was pretty much dead on to begin with. Okay, that looks fantastic. Okay, so now that the decals are done on the upper stage, we can actually glue the red nozzles up on the launch escape tower. So let me get those out and we'll scuff up the plastic and we'll get those glued on here in the next step. Okay, I've got the red painted launch escape tower nozzles ready to glue on to the tower. Now if you notice, hopefully it'll show up, there is a square cutout in the base of that nozzle, and it is made to fit on the little fittings that are on the base of each of these. So I'm going to try to do this on camera. I'm actually going to hold the rocket, let's see, in this fashion, and I'm just going to place a dab of glue on each of these tabs and bring the nozzles in and rotate them until they fit right into those slots. Okay, so just take a dab of, I'm going to use gel CA. Okay. Get the orientation right here. Okay, pretty simple. Okay, we'll do the next one. Okay. It takes a second to kind of thicken and tack up, and then it makes it a lot easier to maneuver. You have to hold it on there for a few seconds till it starts to grip. That one was being a little stubborn. Okay, and our fourth and final one. Okay, just rotate, make sure they're all straight. Okay, they look really good. That's a really good effect. Okay, so with that, pretty much finishes up the upper nose cone. Now we can start working on the boosters down below. Okay, I wanted to share this next step with you. I'm in the process of cutting out the masking for the chrome portion of the boosters. As you know, on the 4 boosters, there's a section down here at the base where it is to be masked off and painted chrome, as opposed to the silver that's on the base. So what I went ahead and did, and I know this is overkill, but I went ahead and took the template that's in the instructions, photocopied it, scanned it into the computer, converted the outline into an SVG file. And for those of you who know, you know. If you don't know, then you may not understand what I'm talking about, but these are the terminologies we use when we do 3D printing. So I converted that SVG file into an STL file by using Tinkercad to adjust it and scale it. And once I printed it up the template, this is what I came up with. So this is basically just a little cutting guide I use now to cut out the 4 masks. So what I like to do is then take a piece of, this is similar to Tamiya tape. This is yellow frog tape. I'm just gonna lay it down on a piece of glass, and then I'm gonna take my template and I'm gonna butt up the bottom of the tape to the bottom of the template and take some tape and just secure it down so it doesn't slide on us. Okay, now it's rigid, not moving. Take a fresh X-Acto blade and just using the template, follow along and cut out Okay. Peel the blue tape off. Remove the template, and now we very gently remove the inner portion. Oops, sorry, if I bumped the camera there. You can see our masking for the booster. Okay, now I'm going to bring the booster in. See if I can do this on camera. Let me bring in my little cradle here. There, that should work. Okay, now I'm very delicately going to peel this off. I don't want to rip this, obviously. Okay, now I like to start with the center curved portion and lay it right over the curve in the booster. So the points come down to the edge of the curve, like that. Okay, seal it down, and then we'll bring this side over. And lay it on that side. Bring this side over. And lay it down there. Okay. Just press everything down on the edges. There we have it. There's our masking for the booster. Now I'm just going to tape the remainder of the tube up. I'm going to take some large 2-inch tape or 1.5-inch tape, cover up the back side, and of course the main body I can just wrap a bag around it to keep it protected. But yeah, once we get everything masked off and sealed, I'll hit that with some chrome paint and we're good to go. So we'll come back and I'll show you what these look like after they're painted and dried. Okay, just to show you what the masking looks like. This isn't not maybe 3 minutes since I filmed the last portion, but I wrapped the main body of the booster up with a plastic grocery bag, seal it to the top with blue tape, and then I use a combination of green and yellow tape to cover up the boosters down at the bottom, the actual nozzles. Everything's flush up into the edge. We don't want the chrome paint to seep in onto the silver, so everything's good there. Press down around that seal there, and you're good to go. Time to take this out to the booth and spray it down. Okay, obviously a few things have been done since the last segment, but nothing out of the ordinary, nothing that isn't self-explanatory through the instructions. But I did go ahead and put the decals on. Pretty straightforward again. Let me bring this. I got 3 boosters glued onto the main interstage. And I'll show you how I do the 4th, but I can show you the 4th. So here we got the decal, and I've got not only the silver paint, but I've got the chrome paint using the masking method I showed you earlier. And then I've got all the nozzles painted red. So that's all that's been done to these since you saw it last. So I've got 3 of the 4 boosters glued onto the main, like I said, the center core. But it's time to glue the 4th one on, and I thought I'd show you how I do that. I did go ahead and peel the masking tape off the tab. Remember, we masked that off earlier, so when we sprayed it, I just have to peel it off and we'd have bare plastic. I also took some sandpaper and sanded down the tab here to get rid of the paint and get back down to the plastic. So really, all we need to do is go ahead and do a test fit. I'm gonna slide that hole right into that post there, kind of wiggle it into place, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to stand the rocket up vertically and show best I can here. So the tab that we need to glue is right in there, so I'm going to take a piece of masking tape and hold it up to that tab. Let me bring it a little bit closer in. Actually, there. Okay, now I'm going to lay the tape right up against that tab and then set it down on the booster. Okay, so now when I remove the booster, I know where to remove the paint. So let me gently set that aside. So for this, I'm gonna get a Q-tip and some mineral spirits. This is what I'm using. You could probably use lacquer thinner as well. I just happen to have this handy. But what we need to do is we need to cut down through the paint and primer to the bare plastic. That'll get us a better adhesion. So just to the left of that tape that we set down, I'm just gonna start wiping away the paint. Eventually we'll get down to the bare white plastic. There, it's starting to come through. Okay, so there's our bare spot. Now we have a place for the glue to adhere to. Okay, let me cap up my mineral spirits. Okay, I'm gonna get some gel CA or thick super glue. I'm gonna fill that hole. And then spread some glue out. Okay, set that down for a second. Bring the stack in here. I'm going to lay some thick CA on that tab. Spread it around. Okay, now we're just going to line up that post again into the hole. A little bit of wiggling, get the front portion in the notch, and just press everything in. And the hard part, letting it sit and dry. So I'm gonna go ahead and stand it up vertically, that way everything is in alignment with each other. And there you go. So we're gonna let that dry, and then we'll come back and take a look at how things came out. Okay, now we're going to wrap things up. If you can believe it, we've come to the end. I can show you here, I've installed the fins just as a mounting surface so it can sit on. Self-explanatory, can't really mess those up. But we're going to take the aramid cord that is in the main body tube, and I'm just going to loop it over itself and tie a knot. We're going to create a loop here. Just like that. And then we're going to take our shock cord. I've already done this, but it comes as a 72-inch piece, and you need to cut it into a 124-inch, leaving an existing 48-inch. This is the 48-inch, the longer of the two. I'm going to take it, I'm going to loop it through that loop that we just created. I'm going to tie that off. We'll make a double knot. Okay, and then at the other end, we're gonna make a double knot out of this, or a single. I'm sorry, we're gonna double it over and make a loop here. Okay, now this is the loop that the parachute, the larger parachute, the 24-inch parachute will attach to this one. Okay, so then we're going to bring in our upper stage nose cone section, and we're going to grab our 24-inch, and we're going to loop it through here. And same process, we're going to do a double knot. And then on this end, we're going to make a loop. Just like that, and that's what our 18-inch chute will attach to. So let me go ahead and I'm not going to show the chutes on camera because everybody has their own opinion on how to do a parachute. Which ones to use, how to pack them, how to fold them. So I'm just going to stuff everything into its tube. Okay, this one will slide in the top. And we're going to show you the completed Soyuz as best I can on camera here. I'll show you a picture at the end of it standing tall. But there she is. This is a monster of a rocket. If it flies good, you got a winner, because it sure built good, and man, it's beautiful. So again, I'll show you a picture of it in its entirety because I can't fit it all on screen. So I'm going to wrap this video up. I want to thank everybody so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the build. If you get one, enjoy building it. Trust me, it is so much fun. So many different disciplines: plastic modeling, rocketry, typical rocketry, everything, painting. It's a lot, and it's so satisfying to complete the project. So anyway, with that, I'll let you go. Thanks for watching, everybody. God bless, and we will see you at the launch pad.